Coming up on Tekzilla, Guestapalooza. We've got all of our favorite people in one place for a big reason. So pack yourself a lunch. It's going to be a long one, and Tekzilla starts now. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Shannon Morse.
Welcome to Tekzilla Hands-On Reviews, the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you are a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the cool projects that the whole TZ crew has been working on, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does. So craziness is happening. By the way, have you seen the volume control that I added to the PC downstairs?
No.
Okay, so Creative sent the Sound Blaster Roar Bluetooth review, TekzillaBytes.com. They also sent the ZXR, which is their audiophile grade gaming sound card with high performance headphone amp. Ooh. So, okay, this is kind of crazy. So you're probably looking at this and being like, what's a sound card if you're under the age of 30? And then you're probably also going, $216! This, I gotta say, is an interesting product. I will say, okay, so if you don't do sort of audio recording and stuff, you probably don't need all of the joy of the ZXR, right? Because it has a breakout box to do your analog inputs, which is actually pretty sweet. The board itself, the primary board itself, right? So it takes up 2 slots.
Wow.
Inside your PC. What's really nice about this is along with all of the Sound Blaster effects, which you may love or you may hate, I'm not going to get into After Effects on this, it does have some really, really nice Burr-Brown digital analog converters. It's got enough juice in the headphone amplifier to support 600 ohm headphones, which are pretty badass, like basically only the most insane high-end headphones. But I will say I have fallen in love with the external volume control. So
surprising.
Well, it's funny, right? So they have the crystal voice technology built into the mic, which I still prefer a dedicated microphone, but this does a very good job actually. But it has 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch headphone and microphone inputs, and it is a volume knob. So it sounds ridiculous, but I never realized how much more convenient it is, or maybe I did, because we tried to build an audiophile grade volume knob about 1,000 years ago on a show I worked on called, what was that show called? The Screensavers. But this is the actual, it's kind of funny, right? It comes in the box, plugs into the back, and it's really simple. It's a volume knob.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of noise, a little bit of crosstalk at the lowest volume until I tweaked down the levels in the operating system itself. But it works extremely well. The audio is fantastic. If you are not listening to great samples or running it into a decent amplifier, or headphone, or speakers, you probably are not going to hear a huge difference between this and the audio that's on your motherboard, because the audio on your motherboard's gotten really good. If you are looking for something better, or you do want to drive headphones, or if you're really curious about just having a volume knob, I will say it is a sack of awesome.
You're so excited about the volume knob.
I gotta say, you forget how convenient. No, you laugh, right? But it's like,
that's true. That's true. It's convenient.
I can hit the mute button on the keyboard, but I really enjoyed the volume knob rather than going click, slide, click, or bink, 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 bink. So I don't know. It's an analog device in a digital world, and it made me very happy. The ZX, which starts at $85, also comes with the super fancy volume knob. It does not come with a super fancy Burr-Brown digital analog converter, but it's something to think about. I'm just saying.
Cool. Very cool.
So,
well, hey, you found something exciting that just released on the internets?
Yes. So okay. So the Senate decided that the NSA can pretty much browse through anything it wants to at any time. So that happened. I don't want to get into politics right now. I'm ashamed of all senators right now that basically they decided not to sort of rein in the NSA a little bit. That said, interesting product, interesting open source tool.
Yes.
And it is essentially, I'm going to put it right here, resistsurveillance.org. Detekt is a free tool that scans your Windows computer for traces of known surveillance spyware used to target and monitor human rights defenders and journalists all over the world. It's an interesting idea. And let me read the line from the project's website. Quote, please beware that Detekt is a best effort tool. While it may have been effective in previous investigations, it does not provide a conclusive guarantee that your computer is not compromised by the spyware it aims to detect. The tool is provided as is without warranties or guarantees of any kind. It's an interesting thing. Amnesty International, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a couple other groups got together to essentially create a free open source tool for detecting malware. So You know, if you're in a country where they beat you to death
Yeah.
or disappear you or
Yes.
torture you or torture your family, or if you are basically looking to make sure there's not a lot of really nasty stuff inside your system, it's something to consider adding to the list of software.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of a big fan of this. I think it's really cool. It's only available for Windows, but I'm planning to take like a deeper dive into it and check out the code since it is open source over on Hack5. So we'll check that out in the future.
More Hack5 coming up. You've also found a pretty handy tool to work on your personal private. Keep your private info private.
Keep your private info private. Yeah, so you know, oftentimes you might find your phone number on the internet somewhere if you like do a Google search or something, right? Well, I found this tool. Yeah, it is. It's very freaky whenever that kind of stuff happens, and then you got to deal with takedowns and all that stuff. So I found this really cool tool called Maltego. I've been using it for a little while now. It's a free tool that you can use to find information that's publicly available about you, so stuff that other people can find over on the internet. It's built into some versions of Linux, including Kali Linux, which is how I'll show you, but it's also available for Windows, Mac, and Linux as just separate software downloads. This basically just lets you do recon on yourself by scraping up all sorts of public data that's not just on Google and Yahoo and wherever, Bing, but it's also scraping up data from all sorts of separate different websites. All you have to do is come up with the thing that you want to search for, and that's it. So I'm using VMware with a Kali Linux virtual machine to launch Maltego. The setup is fairly easy. You just download VMware for your operating system, go to the Kali Linux website and download the version for virtual machines, and then you boot it from VMware once the file is actually downloaded.
So crazy question, why are you running this on a virtual machine rather than on your desktop? Because
I like Kali Linux, that's why.
Okay,
because that's how I had it downloaded and that's how I've been using it.
And that's the way she rolls, ladies and
that's
gentlemen.
That's right, because I'm crazy. So Maltego opens really easily from any Linux terminal. Once you have it downloaded, you just type in Maltego from the terminal, and then you'll have to register for an account once you first set it up. It'll just ask you for like a username and a password if you're using the free version of it. You just type that in and you can start using it. So first thing you want to do, you want to choose something that you want to search for. So for myself, I just chose my name, my full name, Shannon Morse. Over here on this little palette thing, this is all the different things that you can search for. So you can start with something as simple as a DNS name or a domain address. So you can search snubzy.com, which is my blog. Or the interesting thing is if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have all these personal things, aliases, email address, gets kind of creepy, person,
I was going to say, is this a tool for good or for evil?
Well, it's kind of like a knife. A knife can be used for good and evil, so can a penetration testing tool. And this is a penetration testing tool. Or exactly. So from here, I just drag and drop my name over there. I can double click and I can change it to whatever name I want to search for. And then I right click and I choose this thing called run a transform. So transforms end up being a whole bunch of different things that you can search for underneath that name, underneath Shannon Morse. So I can look up Facebook profiles, Twitter users, URLs, different things like that. When I first search for an alias, all it's going to find is a phrase, Shannon Morse. From there, I can search again for all the different transforms that it can find. And you'll notice down here, it picks up all sorts of different websites, facebook.com, shannonmorseblog.com, which isn't me, but it's another Shannon Morse on the internet who uses, the same name. I can also find things that I've worked on, TwitTV, Hack5, I can find Snubzy, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile's on there, all sorts of different sites. From there, I can right click again, I can run a different transform. From there, I can look for a certain phrase, like my home address, or a phone number, or some kind of information that I don't necessarily want to have on the internet. I searched for a friend's phone number. This is where it gets interesting. I did this just because I felt like it, because he had once posted his phone number like years ago on a forum. It was still there, and Maltego was able to find it. So from there, he was able to go to that forum, and he was able to edit his forum post, because he still had the password years later, and delete his number. So sometimes things like this, you can look outside the box at different tools like Maltego and different penetration testing tools that usually just IT people use, but you can use these for computer security and you can use them for your own personal security.
It's time to start our Guestapalooza. Coming up first, Jessica Corbin, the very first co-host along with me on Tekzilla. Then, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Heron's going to help you sort out the highly anticipated or dreaded Black Friday. To kick off our Guestapalooza, the original co-host of Tekzilla, Jessica Corbin, how are you?
Woo! Patrick!
It has been too long.
Reunited, and it feels so good. It only took us 6 years.
I was going to say, last time I saw you was CES, like 6 years ago. I see yoga all over JessicaCorbin.com. You've always been an athlete. You ran cross country in college, but you've gone big on fitness.
I have gone big on fitness. I mean, it has been kind of like a lifelong endeavor, but I pivoted back to fitness after I decided, like in 2000, like when did the economy collapse? Like 2008, 9? I decided to take off. I was like, this is a good time to get out of America. And so I zipped on over to Indonesia and Bali, and I really immersed myself in yoga and study of the human body and the mind, and came back with just a desire to get more into this industry, health and healing, and optimizing the body-mind. And so I did that, and then was struck with this big inspiration for a fitness technology. Like, I went to CES like in 2010, and that was the first year that there was this Fit Tech zone established at CES, and it was like maybe
digital
like
pedometers.
but it was like 30 presenters. But for me, it was like Mecca. I was like, oh, like this is my jam. Like this is like a collide of my passions, and then over the years we started to see it grow and grow and grow. So like after I got back from 2010 CES, I was really inspired. I would go to see this acupuncturist who would assess my pulses, and he would give me fitness prescriptions. He would say, your pulse is really wiry, do yin yoga, or your chi is really strong, you should, feel free to go out for a hard run. And I was like, what are you assessing in my pulse that's allowing you to give me my fitness prescription? And that was like the big light bulb. Like I was already inspired from CES and seeing all the development around fit tech. And then I go see this acupuncturist, and he's doing these, and I was just like, Yahtzee. Like I want to figure this out. And, I do have an entrepreneurial bone in my body. Like
one or two.
I like to create, but I really didn't know what I was doing, And so it's been very much like an intuitive process and just putting the puzzle pieces together, which has been a thrill and hard, but I've been loving it. And eventually I discovered how to do what I wanted to do. And essentially, from an Eastern perspective, you can't get your fitness prescription other than a human hand. From the West, there was a biomarker called heart rate variability, and this is like a window into your nervous system, and it tells you basically how recovered you are from the prior day's stress. The more recovered you are, the more gas in the tank, the more you can put it, pedal to the metal and just go hard. On the days when you're on empty, you really need to pull it back. Otherwise, you're going to totally undermine all your goals, your fitness goals, because stress ultimately will break down your whole body. So you want to stress your body enough, but not too much, and it needs to be a day-to-day thing. Voila, created Vitness RX. It does just that, and there's my pitch.
So it's funny. This is way beyond. This is not it is a heart monitor, but it's monitoring sort of a different kind of pulse.
Yeah, it's a heart rate monitor on steroids. It's so much more. So basically, this is the step that everybody that's engaging in fitness or wellness should be doing. It's a 1-minute assessment. It's like taking your energetic temperature, and then Vitness RX is also a fully integrated heart rate monitor. Just released the second version, so now it's fully Bluetooth enabled, so you can just set your phone down, and then it's getting your data. It's getting your maximum heart rate. It's getting your calories burned, your time, all of that, and all that is stored beautifully. But there's this one step, in my opinion, that can make all the difference, because it teaches you how to work in tandem with your biorhythms instead of against them, so that you can. It's like fast tracking your fitness. It isn't the cure-all. You still have to effort yourself. It's not like a magic pill. You still have to do the yoga or do the cardio. Yeah, you still got to get your butt up. But every day isn't a CrossFit day. Right. And so that's why, like, the whole, rabid user base of CrossFitters, like, most especially if you're a CrossFitter, you need to be taking your HRV on a daily basis, because you're going to, get really injured down the line if you just keep hitting it hard every day. Heart rate variability? Correct. Okay. I just want to make sure I got that right. I'd never even, I'd never heard that before I got into the Vitness RX page. This has been around for maybe 30 years. But it's been involved in systems that cost thousands of dollars. So, you know, just with all the apps and everything that's coming out, we've been able to kind of condense the software down to a grade that the consumer can afford.
Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, jessicacorbin.com, vitnessrx.com. Go check it out. Heart rate variability. This is interesting. The highly anticipated or highly dreaded Black Friday is approaching rapidly. If you must brave the crowds, have a plan, says Mr. Robert Heron.
Heck yeah.
Welcome back, dude.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're going to talk projectors in a second, but first...
Forget the TVs. Just get a projector.
Just get a projector. I've been using a projector for almost 5 years now, I think.
I saw it the other day when I picked up this beauty, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a minute.
You should, though. Consider a projector.
Tell me about why you never leave the house on Black Friday anymore.
Because it's mostly annoying as heck trying to shop and get those killer deals that you see advertised to tempt you into the store in the first place. You're fighting with a crowd of people to get at a handful of items that will be on that sale. So, you know what? There are things to avoid, basically, and that's one of them. I just simply don't want to deal with the crowds like that. But some people enjoy that sort of pain and suffering, and if you do...
I played rugby for 9 years. I can see the attraction of rolling into Walmart at 5 a.m. on Black Friday.
If you are going to go through it, no matter all of my objections, have a plan now. Online is the way to do it, clearly. I'm going to say just do that. But there are some websites you can visit beforehand to check out the actual ads involved. BlackFridayAds.net or BFAds.net is the site to hit first. They get a hold of all of the flyers. You can go right on there, preview everything, have that game plan for what it is you're trying to get, so you at least score the item you want. Or there might be another store that won't be so crowded. You can go hit that up instead. Just give yourself some options and know what it is you're looking for before you go there if you're going to try this method of madness to get the super cheap TV.
And also just check to make sure the price is really that good. Is it this year's model? Is it last year's model? Because like $500 for last year's model versus $550 for this year's model, and Amazon sends it to you, or you pick it up at Costco, versus getting last year's model for $50 less, you know, with, you know, a broken nose or something.
Sometimes the percentage off they show you in the ad really means nothing. Go confirm that price somewhere else, a couple other places, just to make sure that it is the actual lowest price that you can find it for.
Yeah, 70% off MSRP may be what it's actually selling for everywhere else a week before.
If you can get within 5% of the price and not have to leave the house, that's really where I'm questioning your sanity at this point. And also, have some good insults ready. No violence, but an insult here and there, well placed, can be quite effective in the shopping area.
In with the love, out with the hate.
Just not on Black Friday.
It's a holiday. It's about love, people. So whether or not it's Black Friday or any other day of the year, there are some things that they're going to try to sell you at the big box store that you highly recommend everyone buying: an HD TV, a Blu-ray player, a projector, a speaker, a dog, a cat. Avoid.
You know, definitely. And if you're looking at a TV that is just so much less expensive than all the other TVs lined up in front of you, and you're wondering, you got to ask yourself why that is. And it could be that it might not be all that great. A low price isn't the be-all, end-all, especially if you're looking for something you're going to enjoy over the long term. And you want to have good picture quality, period, at least in my humble opinion. Especially if you're looking at this in a critical viewing environment, be it with Blu-ray movies, be it in a darkened room environment. Those are the things that the cheap TVs aren't going to do very well. Now, when you get into the smallest size TVs, I find that, generally speaking, those small TVs tend to have an okay picture across the board. They tend to be at a certain plateau of where they just seem to not get worse than that.
That said, like that 55-inch 4K television for $900, there's a reason it's $900. It's 30 hertz, so you can't game on it. It's probably going to have mad hot spots and uneven color across it. It may have the noise.
It might be $500 now too. It might not have, in particular for 4K. One thing to mention is that there's a protection technology called HDCP, and there's version 2.2 now that is applicable to any of the future devices that you'll be connecting that actually feed it 4K signals. None of the original 4K TVs had that. The current 4K TVs maybe have one port or two ports that offer that connectivity. The better TVs that are coming out just right now will be offering all the ports enabled as such. And also, some of those earlier ports in 4K formats that the TV could accept it on a 4K format, it might only accept it at 30 hertz compared to, say, the 60 hertz formats that are going to become more popular as time goes on. If you're looking to future-proof it, you have to be even more careful, and you have to really count the number of ports that are going to be supporting the things you want down the road.
That's a big deal. Extended warranties, yes or no?
No, forget it. Especially if you're buying it new in the box, it's going to have the manufacturer's warranty, and if you're buying it from a place like Costco or one of the shopping clubs, they will often double the warranty for free. Unless you're just completely paranoid, there's no reason to do it.
$150 HDMI cables that'll give you the maximum visual quality if you're looking for a superior AV experience in your living room.
Any undamaged HDMI cable, 25 feet or less, will support every format currently available and in use, including 4K, 3D, the whole 9 yards. Don't go crazy there.
Go to monoprice.com, go to amazon.com, buy a $5 cable, buy a $2 cable. If you want a fancy cable, go to bluejeanscable.com. They make nice stuff.
Yeah, they do.
You don't need it, but they make it. And if you do need it, they got it there.
They actually make extended length cables that don't require amplifiers. They do some pretty creative work with their cabling systems. But if you need that, you might not.
If you want,
most people don't.
If you want badass cables without realizing you've just spent the cost of a good used car for nothing, just go to Blue Jeans Cable. Or just go to monoprice.com and spend $2.
They also have affordable cables too.
I didn't realize this till I was in a room with some of the Epson reps. They sell 60% of the projectors in the United States right
Really?
now. Yes.
You know, every classroom I walk into, well, not that I walk into a lot of classrooms, but when I set things up for classrooms, there's often an Epson projector. Same with businesses and the conference rooms and things like that. They have a lot of business class hardware I see, but they've been doing home theater projectors for quite a while now, and this is the Home Cinema 3500.
Yeah. This knocked my socks off when I saw it at the demo. You've done the full test. How's it work?
I had it at home for a few days, and I put it through the ringer. And this projector, without a doubt, it's optimized for bright picture quality. This is something you want that if you have the darkened room, you have the room set up for projection systems at any screen size, this is not the projector for you. This thing really pumps out the light, and its black level won't be comparable to some of the other projectors out there that will cost a little bit more, but if you have a room where you're not turning off all the lights, you're going to have at least some light on, hopefully nothing shining directly at the screen or casting light on there. This projector has the extra oomph to put it out. It's about $1,600 online. It has the 3 LCD technology, a 3-chip system that delivers good color brightness, which is something Epson loves to focus on a lot. Compare that to a single chip system, like an inexpensive DLP projector. DLP projectors that have 1 chip can only show at any given moment in time a single channel of color or black and white. So in this case, with 3 chips doing red, blue, and green together, you're actually improving or increasing the amount of energy basically for that color.
And this is
it's brighter colors overall.
2,500 lumens. It's
at least, and you can hit this in the super bright modes to push it past that if you had to, but you lose some of the image quality. But again, if you're doing daytime viewing or something like that.
So 2,500 lumens means I can leave the blackout shades up in the living room during the day.
Yeah.
Can I turn it down if I want to watch in a dark room at night?
And you do, because the hardest part, though, is if you do have a well-controlled room, is to make this dark enough. And that's really where it starts to show where it's better optimized for. Also, if you turn it way up in brightness, you're going to start to hear the fan kick in more, and it will warm the room up quite a bit. But it also comes back to, yes, if you had that well-controlled room, you would look at something like, say, the 5030 UB from Epson. That is a phenomenal projector. I've calibrated the 5020s, and now the 5030s, the newer model. That gives you improved black level, improved color gamut, basically the palette of color it can draw from. It does a better job. It's a little more accurate in that respect. This did, though, the 3500 did calibrate quite nicely. Once it was done, it was a joy to watch. And if you're going to be shooting this to, say, a large screen, over 100 inches, 150 inches, especially if you've got the light control, this has enough, the room lighting control, this has enough light output to make that realistic and doable. Also, not many projectors have decent built-in audio. This has twin 10-watt stereo speakers. Loud, relatively loud. I mean, it's not room earth-shattering sound, but if you're going to drag this outside into the backyard for a movie night, or you're going to hook up a game console, or you just want something quick to enjoy some audio with, this was great and how well it worked. In this price range, too, you also have features like lens shift. Also,
is that digital or an actual physical lens shift?
Physical lens shift controls, where you can slide the image up, down, left, and right about 60% of the image width or height, and that prevents you from actually using the digital keystone correction, which you should never use the digital keystone correction. You know, where, oh, the image is trapezoid shaped, oh, I need to just bend those sides out. The second you enable even one touch of keystone correction, you will lose half the image quality. Right. Half the resolution of the picture goes away in order to use that feature. So
they tell you how far to hang it from the ceiling or how far to put it off the floor. Do that so you don't have to try to use digital keystoning.
I will say the focus ring on this, though, was a little sensitive. So if you're going to put the lens cap back on it, it was easy to knock it out, where you'd have to just quickly refocus it a little bit. And I wish it was a little tighter in terms of how well it was on there.
Did you use the picture-in-picture at all?
I tried. They claimed that with the dual HDMI inputs, you could have 2 HDMI sources and be able to do picture-in-picture. It worked with analog and HDMI, but it did not work with 2 HDMI sources. Now I'm working with them to check that out and see why. They firmly believe it will, but I don't.
So far.
It does not, so I'm going to leave that out. But it does have a picture-in-picture function, which could prove useful. And if it does, in fact, work with 2 HDMI sources, that would be kind of cool, because then you could have, you could have, say, the satellite box in the corner while you're watching the movie, if you wanted to, or something like that. Now, you mentioned setup, and with any projector out there, you really want to make sure that you get a good idea of, depending on the zoom level used and the distance from the screen that you have available, you might have a very short, narrow space in which to put the projector. Like, say, you plan on putting it at the back of the room, you're going to be projecting it toward the front of the room. What are the screen sizes that you can actually use this lens setup with to make it all work? And in that case, you want to use like an online calculator. And the folks over at Projector Central have a terrific calculator system for just about every projector out there that will give you a rough idea. Right. In this, you would plug in the diagonal screen size, and then it gives you a rough estimate in terms of, well, here's your throw distance based on the zoom performance of this particular projector. It also gives you kind of a heads up in terms of the light output that the projector itself is capable of. And maybe you need to go with a smaller screen to get a brighter picture for the given room environment, or vice versa.
Well,
and
it's funny,
mostly for the setup. And the thing to pay attention to is that throw range in particular, because if you plan to fill a fixed screen size up to at a specific distance, it has to fall within that range. Otherwise, it just isn't going to work.
Well, it's funny, right? Because I'm currently running like I think a 100-inch screen. The projector I have is set up at about 11 feet, and that would be starting. It's like in the red zone. It would be a really, really bright situation unless I remounted it and started pushing things back farther. But
red in that case, I believe, means that you've got plenty of light, even for some ambient light in the room. Now, it's always, and no matter what projection setup I've seen, having any light actually shining onto the screen itself is going to really cut the quality of the contrast of the picture and wash it out a little bit. So in general, you always want to try to avoid that. But having a projector that can put out the light output like the 3500 can is pretty phenomenal. It's just nice to see at this price. Because like I mentioned, the 5030, that is a phenomenal projector that calibrates even better than this one, but you're talking almost about $800 or $900 more.
That's a big jump.
So, yeah, it is. And so Sony also has a really good projector too as well. It's a little bit less than that, but still, for bright room environments, for built-in audio that kicks butt, dual HDMI and analog inputs, this is a pretty solid projector.
You have a list. HeronFidelity.com is your website. HeronFidelity.com/favorite-gear.
Hey, there's the 5030 right there.
Does that mean it's on one of your lists of favorite things?
Yeah. Hey, and Walmart your stuff too.
Oh my goodness.
There's so much good stuff on there.
That's a good thing. And you and I actually have a new project coming up. avxl.com or avexcellence.com. We're kind of going to bring the home theater, home entertainment, and home automation thing. We're going to kind of get our podcast on with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Heron.
Pleasure.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
More Tekzilla is coming right up, including, ladies and gentlemen, the elusive Veronica Belmont and Roger Chang. But before we do that, well, actually, we don't have a commercial break. So let's go right on to the next thing.
Smoke bomb.
Up next, we've got Tekzilla's very first associate producer, world traveler, and new mommy. It's Serafina Kernberger.
Hello.
Yay! Yes. Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you again.
It's been a while.
You have 2 little babies, twins.
I have 6-month-old twin babies.
They are
identical
so
twin
cute.
boys.
Adorable.
I agree.
Congratulations on the mommyhood.
Thanks.
So you did an epic motorcycle trip. I'm kind of jealous because it was awesome. Around South America for your honeymoon.
Yeah, not
cool.
just South America. We started in San Francisco and went all the way down to the bottom of South America, going through Mexico, all of Central America.
It was like half a year or something?
A full year.
A full year.
Yeah, we left in June, got back in June.
So you must have picked up tons of really good technology travel tips, right?
Yeah, well, I'm basically living off a motorcycle for a year, so space is limited.
Much.
Right. So I picked up some little tips. One thing obvious is to bring extra batteries. You can get, for your phone, you can get an extra battery if you don't have an iPhone, or you can get the pack the case that has the battery with it. Like Mophie
what's your
has
favorite?
some.
Mophie, okay.
Well, I just use, I have an extra battery. I have a Samsung Galaxy, so I just have an extra battery. It's easier for me. But
I found that some of the best sizes for those kind of batteries would be like at least 10,000 milliamps per hour.
Sure, yeah. If you can get
at least you'll get like 3 full charges out of that size. So
you have to balance bulk with battery,
Yeah.
though, so it just depends on your preference. Another thing is a waterproof case. If you're taking lots of photos and you want to go scuba diving, swimming, or whatever it is, or even just if you want to not worry about being out in the rain. Like I had my phone die because I had my phone in a pocket in my jacket.
Oh no!
But I put it in a bag of rice, which is a trick I learned on Tekzilla, and it was okay. It worked, but it would spontaneously go into the car mode occasionally for no reason.
So what kind of waterproof cases did you end up using? Ziploc bags?
Ziploc bags are a good one, especially when you're traveling through Latin America, and that's one thing that can be available as opposed to buying things online. I personally didn't use any waterproof cases for mine. For the helmet cam that I used, I did. We used a Contour camera, and they have waterproof cases made specifically for that camera.
Oh, cool. Now, being in South America, did you end up like paying for data so you could download maps, or did you bring a physical map? What did you do?
You know, Wi-Fi is everywhere.
Really?
Even in Latin America, Honduras, Nicaragua, South America, you can find Wi-Fi anywhere.
Awesome.
So yeah, each night at your hotel, you log onto the Wi-Fi, and you can use Google Maps. You can actually cache their maps. So you can save it, and then you don't have to worry about whether you have data or not. T-Mobile has really good international data now. I'm pretty sure it's free.
What?
For international data.
Oh, good to know.
It's a good tip there, but that wasn't available when we were traveling, so we cached our Google Maps. Speaking of hotels, one really good way to get a good hotel deal, this is more not internationally, but in the US and other countries, I'm sure too, find the best deal online and then call them up and say, hey, I found this deal online, can you beat it?
Oh, nice.
If it works, it works. You get an even better deal than you could otherwise. If not, then you just book it online, and that works too.
Did you choose hotels based on their speed of Wi-Fi?
Yes, we did. Because we were wanting to back up our footage that we were shooting. We didn't, traveling on motorcycles through, puddles and in the rain, and any bike falls over and our hard drives crashed.
Absolutely.
So we tried to upload. We set up an FTP so that we could upload all our footage to back home. We had a friend back home that had the FTP server set up.
Oh, nice.
So Wi-Fi speed at the hotel was important. We used the speed test app. As you check in, you say, what's the password? You type it in, see how fast it is, and if it's not, going to the actual room is a better way to do that because, it varies. If you get a room far away, then sometimes you can ask for a closer one for better reception.
So how did you deal with reception issues?
For the most part, it was okay, but for the times that it wasn't, you can bring a little travel router.
Oh, yes, the TP-Link.
Yeah.
Very familiar with those. They're super, super fun, and they're inexpensive.
Yeah. So you bring one of these, and if there was a couple times where I had to hold my laptop up in the corner of the room to get, that wasn't going to work when I'm uploading overnight. So one of these will extend the reach of the Wi-Fi. Now,
not so techie necessarily, but something really important when you're traveling overseas would be your passport and your licenses and things like that.
Right. So if you're traveling and you lose your passport, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So what you do is you make photocopies of it before you leave your home. Make photocopies of it, store some of it, bring some with you on a USB disk, thumb drive, store them in the cloud. I use Dropbox. Leave some copies, both digitally and hard copies, with some friends back home so they can mail them to you or email them to you, whichever works. Just have all your bases covered. And I think part of the reason that we didn't have any problems on our trip, people ask us, oh, what was the worst thing that happened? We went through so many precautions that we didn't need any of them.
Now, what did you do for entertainment?
Entertainment. So this is, again, mostly for what we used in the US. You can use it other places too.
Okay.
If you bring a Chromecast with you, it's a really easy way to play your own media on either the hotel's TV or if you're staying with a friend, you're staying with your aunt and you want to show her the video that you took yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. I've noticed most of these days now, a lot of the hotel TVs, they'll have that
HDMI.
port available. So yay, HDMI is available. Now for international specifically, you have a few tips for that as well?
Yeah, like I said, it was very international trip. One thing that I did was unlock my phone before we left, because you never know, sometimes it might take a while, or you have to email somebody or call in or whatever. You just want to get all that sorted before you leave so you don't have to do it on the trip. And then we bought a local SIM from one of the local telecom companies. Cool. It depends on the country you're in, obviously, as to which one you go with. But it was way easier and way cheaper to do that than deal with roaming or international minutes and all that kind of stuff.
It's too expensive. No, thank you.
Yep. And while you're in another country, one other tip is to download an app, a dictionary app, that doesn't require internet use. This might seem obvious, but there are a lot of apps out there that need to call back to, I mean, it saves space on your phone if you have one of those, but if you're in a foreign country, which is when you need those
you don't want to use what
apps,
data you don't need to use.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, most phones can handle a larger app, and those are the ones that have all the information stored on your phone, so you can pull up the translations right there.
And I think one thing as well that I brought on my honeymoon as well was a universal adapter for all of those different little plugs that you just have to carry.
Yeah, so a universal adapter, this is mine. They're all over the place. You plug in the one you want. And the other, what pairs well with this is a power strip. So you only need one.
Nice.
Buy one of these, and then you plug your power strip into it, and then you have, you know, 6 or 8 plugs that you can, so you don't have to buy 6 or 8 adapters.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Serafina. And what else have you been up to lately? I know there's some things going on.
Lots of things here and there, mostly raising my baby twins. Aside from that, on the job front, I worked on a film recently about hackers in San Francisco called Algorithm. You might have heard of it.
I think I was in that movie, wasn't I?
You're in the background there, yeah. That movie's going to be for sale and coming up here January, February. But I also shot and edited a behind-the-scenes video, which is now done, and that's available. You can go to thehackermovie.com and click on behind the scenes. You'll see my video there.
Yay! Thank you again, Serafina. It was awesome to see you here on the Tekzilla set. So good to have you back over here.
So glad to see you.
Whether you are an illustrator, a digital painter, or Photoshop whiz, investing in a digital graphics tablet is a must. But before you buy Wacom's latest and greatest, our next guest, friend and former Tekzilla producer, has some tips on what to look for. I would like to welcome back Mr. Roger Chang.
Thank you very much.
What's up, Roger?
Not much. I'm getting ready for a new addition to my family, so I've been taking some time off.
What?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, everybody here.
Yes,
Is it my turn next? No.
That's totally up to you.
So what are some of the things that people should consider when buying one of these kind of tablets? So
the number one thing, believe it or not, is actual size of the tablet, the drawing space. Now these come in a variety of sizes. This is actually the smallest one that Wacom makes.
It looks pretty small.
And the reason is this: depending on what your art training is, in your background, I actually started out as a graphic arts major before I switched over to computer science and then moved over to broadcasting. If you're, for example, a painter, you're used to doing long strokes.
Right.
And so if you have a tablet, depending on the size, you're going to be constrained by the area that you're working in. So what I found initially, when I got my first tablet, it was actually a very large tablet, and I felt very uncomfortable trying to make these large motions.
So it was too big because you were trained in graphic artist.
Well, yeah, I was trained, and my background was just in pen and pencil.
Right.
So I was very used to drawing in a much smaller space. The other important thing is desk space. Unless you have a drafting board as a desk, or you have a really spacious desk, these things take up a lot of space.
That's a good point.
And it's one of those things where you're going to have to shift your keyboard over, and you need to feel comfortable either with this next to it or in your lap.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, it comes down to personal comfort. The one thing I will say though is that depending on how you work, for example, if you're a CAD CAM operator and you're doing specific, not CAD CAM, but CAD, and you're used to doing high precision work, sometimes you want to be able to blow it up. Or you feel more comfortable, if you're using a smaller tablet, or you're used to using a large one where you can just kind of very minutely and very precisely circle or etch things out, very tightly. Now the thing is, the bigger the tablet gets, the more expensive it gets.
Ah, yes, the price.
So it is kind of a balance between comfort and what you can afford.
Well, what do these range usually?
So when this first shipped, this is about $250. And you're looking anywhere from $250
That's not bad.
Up on the high side of $300.
Okay.
And if you go with something like a Cintiq, which is basically a graphics tablet married with a LCD monitor, that's you're looking at $2,500 and up. Whew. So it's a very expensive thing, and this is the thing: is it for something for work? This is something I need to use in order to generate income, or is it something I'm going to give to my kid so they can learn how to draw, or they can have fun with their tablet? Because that will determine how much you spend.
Okay.
And again, figure out what your needs are first. If you have something that you just want to use, for example, some people have repetitive stress injury.
Yes.
They want to use a graphics tablet. You don't need to spend $250 on a tablet. You can get by with a much less expensive model that doesn't have as many features, but will allow you to mouse around on the screen and click on things.
So what is this one that you have
This
here?
is the Intuos 4.
Okay.
I actually bought this back in 2010. It's been since replaced by the Intuos 5, which they now call the Intuos Pro. But it still comes in the small, medium, and large form factors. This one's 6.2 inches by 3.9. The average middle size is about 8.5 inches.
Okay.
Not 8.5.
Like almost like a size of
inches.
paper.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, whether you're a deviant artist or something, people draw. I actually recommend getting smaller tablets if you're a person who's learned to draw based on doodling and sketching or copying comic books.
Now, I've recently gotten into drawing on my Note 4 because that comes with a little stylus as well. And one of the things I really like about it is the pressure sensitivity. It changes as you write. Is that something people should consider?
Yes, and this is very important. Pressure sensitivity is basically how many levels of pressure the pad can distinguish between.
Right.
So typically, when they first came out, they were a little under 1,000. If you used a koala pad back in the C64, they had none. But it allows you to determine how thin or how dark the lines you can draw on, unfortunately I'm using a pencil, I should use a brush. But you can see, depending on how hard you can, you can see it on my screen, but you can see how thick, or not how thick, but how dense the line is compared to how hard I hold it. It's more evident if I used a pen or an ink tool. But if you're someone who does into digital painting, it's a big thing, because if you do watercolor, digital watercolor or digital oil painting, how much you hold down on the brush will determine the kind of line and the type of color you get. And for some people who are switching over, it's super important. Typically, I recommend at least 1024. Although this has double, but at least 1024, especially with programs like what I'm using right now, which is Corel Painter X3. It supports those levels, and it's a great way to kind of get that, again, that precision that people might be used to with a traditional brush or a pen or a pencil.
Does resolution make a difference as far as the resolution of the tablet itself?
Yes, so resolution is measured in lines per inch, basically how many lines it can distinguish within 1 inch of the pad. Again, the more lines you have, more LPIs, the more precise, the tighter the drawing you can make. Now, this isn't a big deal for some people who can just endlessly zoom. Like, I can endlessly zoom into this, and I can get
fine.
It's fine. But for some people, it's you don't want to keep bouncing back and forth. You want to be able to. Well, I just want to put a piece of text here.
Yeah, that
I don't
makes
want to
sense.
push in 20 times zoom in order to write my name.
So what does yours offer?
Mine offers, I think, 5,081. Lines per inch. That feels like a lot. It's a lot, but that's why Wacom is kind of the standard bearer.
Right.
It's kind of what they set the bar on a lot of this stuff, because a lot of their tools are used by professional graphic artists, digital animators. In the work field, sometimes you'll see it in things that aren't creative, like, again, CAD or other situations, like some architects use it. And I know some people just use it because they have RSI and they like the new feature in Yosemite where you can actually sign things
that
directly.
Makes sense.
So that's pretty sweet.
And what else should I consider? Anything else?
There's something called max report rate, which is how quickly the tablet can, how many times a second it measures the pen. So basically how far you can wing the pen without the pad lagging behind. So if you have a very slow report rate and you're say like you're writing your name, sometimes it might be as much as half a second off if you're going too quickly.
I see.
And so
kind of reminds me of signing my name for a credit card thing.
Exactly. If you've ever used one of those digital signature things at a Best Buy or something at the register, you know how lagging
horrible.
that is. That's an example of a really bad
okay.
reporting rate. The reason why you want a higher rate is because it feels more natural. It feels like you're drawing on paper or you're painting on a canvas. You get that immediacy that you need. This particular, I think, unit offers 197, 196. Okay. Anything around 200 generally will give you a pretty smooth feel between, from what you're doing and what you see on the screen.
Now, what's this thing called tilt or tilt range? What is that?
Tilt range. So when you have your pen, now if anyone draws with a pen, or a pencil, when you shift it to your side, you get a different stroke. So if we go to my screen right here,
I'm a very far shifter.
You'll see this little dot here where I'm drawing. Now that's with it directly up. Now if I put it on its side, it gets broader.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
that's very important, again, for artists who are used to using things like charcoal pencils or anything where you want to get kind of a specific tone. It seems kind of superfluous, but if you've done art, you know how important this is. And being able to, again, go through and just like, I just want to shade an area quickly on screen and have it done, it's great.
It's very much like charcoal. Yeah. That's awesome. Now the keys, what are those?
So function keys. These are things that Wacom introduced a while back, but what essentially does are these are hot buttons.
Okay.
So instead of having to zoom into an image, so for example, watch my screen.
So that zooms.
It automatically zooms for me, and I don't need to touch the keyboard. I can just touch the wheel. And again, these buttons can be assigned, so they can be things as simple as erase, although with a Wacom, if you just flip this upside down, it actually erases on the screen. Again, they're trying to give you as much of a feel to natural drawing or painting as possible.
So it sounds like Wacom's the winner here.
Yes.
Maybe?
Wacom is actually the go-to if you do want to pursue a professional career in digital art. I mean, I would hesitate to push anyone else off of it. But that said, they're very expensive. Again, it's $240. I got this on sale for $180 on Amazon when I bought it. But starting around $240 all the way up to the high end of $300. And for some people who, for example, may be hobbyists or just want to dabble, a little too pricey. It's like, it's a lot of money to spend on something that you may or may not want
to. Just for a hobby.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there are a number of companies out there that create graphics tablets, similar to Wacom, but not exactly the same. Now, what Wacom has above all of those other companies, at least the ones I've seen so far, is that it uses electromagnetic resonance technology. So the pen that I'm using isn't actually powered. It's a magnetic field, capacitance. And so it determines where it is, based on the tablet, and this is why it's more expensive, based on the EMR technology in the pad.
That's cool.
The plus side is that I don't need to put a battery in here.
Right.
I can buy different types, and they actually make custom stylus pens for people who might want a different feel or a look to it to be more creative or individualized. But again, that leads to the price increase. But there's a Chinese company called Huion that creates a very, very inexpensive tablet, and this one is the Huion 6. They use graphics tablet technology from a Taiwanese company called UC Logic. Now, the only difference, at least for most people, between this and the Wacom is the pen. Now, in this case, the Huion does the tilt, has pretty much the same level set of features outside of the scroll wheel, but the pen needs a battery. So you need to be conscientious of making sure you have a battery in it, and then when it dies, it's either a rechargeable battery or replacing. Plus, it makes the pen heavier.
Yeah.
People really like the feel that these pens are super light, but the Huion's only $53.
Wow, that is lightweight. That's cool.
Yeah. And for
easy to use.
Huion, at least this particular model, I've actually looked on a number of artist blogs, and they actually, they like it. They could use it for work. Now, it's not to say that they would suddenly ditch their Wacom setup, but if it's something that you say, hey, I want to try that out, and I want to spend a lot of money, but I want something that isn't, low rent, that isn't frustrating. And believe me, I've bought really low rent graphics tablets, and really bad ones are really, really frustrating to use.
Yeah.
And, it's a good look. So.
Thank you so much, Roger. I have learned pretty much everything there is to know, apparently, about Wacom tablets and graphic design drawing tablets in general. That's cool. So where can I find you?
You can find me right now on Twitter, at Jolly Roger. It's also a name shared by a bunch of bars in South Africa, Portland, and one in England.
Well, why not?
But it is me, and sometimes I do a podcast with Tom Merritt called East Meets West, where we talk about everything under the sun. You can find that at subbrilliant.com.
It's awesome.
/EMW.
Thank you again, Roger. And we're going to be right back with Miss Veronica Belmont. She's back, guys. Are you excited? I know I am. We'll be back after this break.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest needs no introduction. The lovely Ms. Veronica Belmont.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to be back.
It's nice to see you there.
Thank you.
We should talk. You've been doing stuff.
I've been doing a lot of stuff.
You've been spending a lot of time hanging out with IBM, hanging out with Intel.
Yeah, I'm hosting a lot of events, a lot of live events for those big companies, doing some video projects, some TV projects, doing Sword and Laser.
Don't forget Sword and Laser.
Yeah, of course. We're blowing Sword and Laser up right now. It's been great.
Science fiction and fantasy, you should be subscribed to Sword and Laser, and you should support Sword and Laser on Patreon because it's awesome. We should talk though. You are the resident or the former resident fashionista. And,
That's very kind of you to say.
It's pretty accurate of me to say. You've never wore the same shirt twice in like freaking 300 episodes.
I did. Epic. This is something we never talked about on the show, but for at least like the first 3 or 4 years, I actually kept a list of all the shirts I wore and tried not to double up on them, or at least tried to mix it up a little bit. So now you know my dirty little fashion secret. I did start. Then I just stopped caring apparently about clothes.
I'm envisioning a container somewhere in the Bay Area filled with shirts that have been worn once.
That is probably a real thing.
That's a frightening thing.
No, not once.
Wearables. Where are you at with wearables? I cannot see you wearing a Moto 360 on your wrist. The thing's bigger than your wrist.
I mean, wearables are so much beyond what we know in terms of fashion and health these days. I mean, I know you talked a little bit about like health gadgets with Jessica earlier, and I still wear my Fitbit. I've had the same Fitbit for the past 2 years. I've been a Fitbit fan forever. I keep wearing down the holders for them because I go through them too fast. But it's definitely moved beyond that. There's a whole new crop of small companies that are really taking wearables to the next level. It's a really cool space. So
we should say, it sounds like, because we were talking before, it sounds like you are more interested in the smaller companies than like Android Wear, Samsung Watch, and I'm gonna say again, it's a beautiful watch, but the Moto 360, like, it's not like I have a small wrist, and the Moto 360 looks like I'm wearing the I want to be a pilot when I grow up and be a man watch.
Frankly, I just feel like a lot of the big companies are retreading on the same trends over and over again, even the Apple Watch. I mean, we've seen that kind of technology before. We know that it can do the things that it does. And I'm more interested in these like totally revolutionary companies that are trying to change the way that we deal with technology. They're interacting with the Internet of Things. They're taking advantage of small form factors and really cool design to do stuff we haven't really seen before in the tech space.
Tell me about Nixie.
So Fly Nixie is incredible. So all these products I'm going to talk about today are not really in the consumer stage yet. They're still being developed. They're kind of prototypes. And this is a camera. It's a wearable camera. It's absolutely incredible. As you can see here, it's got this really great form factor. And it's basically a tiny quadcopter. So it's trying to, you laugh.
It's a watch. It's a quadcopter.
So what you do is you wear it on your wrist, like right here. The 4 arms kind of wrap around your wrist. And then when you want to have a selfie taken, if you want it to start videotaping you or taking pictures of you, you flick it out off your wrist, and it kind of shoots off like a boomerang.
Did you see it actually work in real life?
I saw a video of the prototype working in the location that they were talking about the prototypes. It was kind of small, and they were kind of scared it was going to take someone's head off.
I hate it when
that happens. If the robot
goes
crazy, you don't want to be in the line of fire. But no, I'm joking. But it's really neat because it has a couple of different modes. It can either do a boomerang mode where it shoots off, and it senses based on how hard you move your arm, how far off it should go. So it can kind of tell. Apparently you get used to it in time, so if you don't want it to go too far, you just kind of give it a little flick. And if you want it to go way far out, you give it a full flick.
That's really cool.
If that makes sense. And also, go ahead.
Oh, so what did the footage look like? Was it just sitting out there like, videotaping rock climbers or something?
Exactly. Rock climbers is exactly the audience they're going for first, because who would have the hardest time taking a selfie? Someone hanging off a cliff face. Exactly. So it's kind of replacing the whole stupid, ugly selfie stick thing that's gotten really popular right now, which I kind of despise. They're really really
I actually saw somebody,
even for me.
I saw somebody walking across the Golden Gate Bridge a couple weeks ago, and they were like, with their selfie stick.
But they make sense, right?
Yes.
I mean, in a lot of ways, they solve a lot of selfie problems. But this also has a follow mode, so you can send it off and it will follow behind you. So if you're doing like dirt bike racing or motocross racing or whatever else.
Okay, so as somebody who's been playing around a bunch with drones lately, the battery life is not super awesome, and this seems so tiny. How long is the battery going to, I mean, is it going to last like a lap on a motorcycle race or like a couple hundred yards?
They said it should work for about an hour.
Wow.
But of course, as I mentioned, all prototype. They don't have anything that they're shipping out to consumers who are using it in a real world sense yet. So we'll have to see. But we know wearables, typically the higher end ones, they don't last all that long. I mean, the battery life issue has been a major problem for a lot of the wearable market.
The battery, well, it's been a problem for laptops. It's been a problem for cell phones. Tell me about Blocks.
Blocks is cool, and in fact, I feel like we may have even talked about Blocks when they launched their Kickstarter last year. But it's a fantastic company. So forget about the Apple Watch. This is like truly customizable fashion technology. So they have a totally open platform. If you click here, you can see the library. These are all different widgets. They're all different little pieces that you can actually use to create your own apps, your own programs that will run within the Blocks ecosystem. It's all open source, so you can have something like a microphone for controlling apps within Blocks.
So is it a watch? Is it something that works with my cell phone? Or I should say, is it a cell phone? Does it work with my cell phone? Is it a standalone device, or is it kind of all of these things?
It's kind of all of those things. I don't really know too much about the integration with mobile devices just yet, but it's pretty self-contained in that you can create a block for whatever you want. You can have an RFID block or an NFC block. So that would be able to work with your device, for example. But you could use that for contactless payment. You can have one that works like a fitness gadget, so it could use infrared to sense blood pressure, all this crazy stuff. It's all programmable, and it's all really easy to use.
It's a watch, it's a platform, it snaps together.
Yeah, it's whatever the heck you want it to be.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Pro Glove.
Pro Glove, I thought you would get a big kick out of. This is essentially a German company created this glove, and it kind of reminds me of like almost like a Tron Nintendo Power Glove kind of situation. The glove tracks like really precise hand movements, which you can view in real time using their software. This is meant more for big factory situations, automakers, people working on factory lines. So the managers can keep track of what exactly their employees are doing. Now it's supposed to really be good. Yeah, it's a little Big Brother, right? Like I saw Patrick's eyes like light up, like
Friedrich's taking a smoke break.
It's good for efficiency. It's good for making sure that people don't hurt themselves by doing things improperly. They can see exactly what someone does right or wrong, like in the production line. But I like to kind of look at the bigger picture of this, which is you could use it for education purposes, for example. Like a doctor could go into a surgical setting, and instead of just having video, instead of just being able to show what it looks like on the outside, the students could actually see exactly what they're doing with their hands.
So are there cameras on the fingertips or something like that?
There are not cameras on the fingertips, no. It's all, I'm not sure exactly what technology they're using, but I know it can work over Wi-Fi, it can work over whatever system they have in place.
So it's like millimeter precision with, apparently this is the millimeter precision inside of a human's gut surgery finger movements.
Yeah, so it looks pretty cool. Like when you see the video footage of the glove in action, it's real time. It's one-to-one movement to what you're seeing on the screen. So you can track that really easily and get a lot of interesting data about how it's being used.
I'm sensing a theme here. As somebody who loves her Fitbit, who loves fitness trackers, you're saying wearables are way beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, overall, wearables are more than just fitness trackers. They're making our lives easier. There's a ton of amazing technology out there that really takes advantage of that connected world. And, it's making the world a more fun and interesting place, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, Veronica Belmont. VeronicaBelmont.com.
Yeah.
Where's the Sword and Laser podcast?
SwordandLaser.com. We are launching a new podcast also for Vaginal Fantasy in January.
Cool.
So we have the video show every month. We're going to do a podcast about all sorts of like cool, geeky topics once a month with those girls as well. So yeah, big in the podcasting space, doing a lot of cool stuff.
You were like a shark. You never stop moving.
I never stop. I'll die if I stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment we have a very big announcement. But first, we gotta make some changes. You might be wondering why suddenly we've decided to take a walk down memory lane, and a pretty long walk.
It was beautiful.
Right? It's crazy, right? Right back through all the folks that have made the show since day one. In the words of one of my favorite movies, Bull Durham, the organization has decided to make a change. After more than 7 years, and this is the 535th episode, this will be our last full episode of Tekzilla. It has been an incredible experience, from building the original set, some of which is still here, from a pile of 2x3s from the big box store, sitting next to the founders, working on folding tables in a jank warehouse, through the purchase by Discovery, which, by the way, is the only reason Rev 3 and Tekzilla didn't fold years ago. It has been an extraordinary experience working with the people you saw today, and a lot of people you've never seen on camera, from sales, tech, product, audience development, the managers and execs that guided us. I could go on for a pretty long time.
But don't kill your RSS feeds. I'll be covering CES for Discovery Digital Networks. I'm also over at Hack 5. I mean, burn the land, boil the sea. You can't take the sky from me, and I'm still going to be doing my hacks, my tutorials, my how-tos, and everything else over at hak5.org.
Y'all get emotional. Do me a favor, don't get too cranky with Discovery Digital Networks. Every show has a run, and the right choice for Discovery is to end this one. And that is okay. It makes room for some amazing new programming they'll be introducing next year. And if you've never been there, check out testtube.com. There is an incredible pile of shows there.
And hey, keep an eye on the mythical PatrickNorton.com. Rumor has it, a new technology podcast is coming.
I want to thank you, the audience, for being amazing. All of us, and there's a whole bunch of people you can't see right now, built this for you, and you have made it worth every hour we've put into it. And hey, back up your data today.
And hey, if you have a tech question for us, we are all on Twitter, at Patrick Norton, at Snubs, at Veronica, at Robert Heron, at Jolly Roger, at Serafina K, and at Pomdalian. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
Till we meet again, you've been watching Tekzilla.